G'day guys, welcome back to another video. So today I want to talk about 5 of the most wicked women in the Bible. And no, I'm not going to talk about Delilah, but let's get right into it. Now the first woman that I want to present to you is Herodias and her daughter Salome. Now I know these are 2 women, but they kind of go hand in hand in the story and feature prominently in this story about King Herod. Now King Herod had arrested John the Baptist because he had been preaching against the unlawful marriage to his brother's wife. Now during Herod's birthday celebration, Salome, or I'm not really sure how you pronounce it, performed a dance that pleased Herod so greatly that he promised to give her anything she desired. Now, seeking guidance, Salome consulted her mother Herodias, who basically advised her to make a request so wicked that it stands as one of the most infamous demands ever made by a woman. Listen to what it says in Matthew chapter 14, verses 6 to 12. But when Herod's birthday was celebrated, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Therefore he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. So she, having been prompted by her mother, said, "Give me John the Baptist's head here on a platter." And the king was sorry, nevertheless, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him. He commanded it be given to her. So he sent and had John beheaded in prison. And his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. Then his disciples came and took away the body and buried it, and went and told Jesus. The second woman that I want to present to you is Queen Athaliah. Queen Athaliah was Judah's only queen and was also a Baal worshipper. She reigned as Queen of Judah and was the only female monarch to sit on David's throne in biblical history. Now she was the daughter of King Ahab and Jezebel and was among many of the evil kings that reigned over Judah and Israel. Now Athaliah began her life of wickedness by encouraging her own son Ahaziah to walk in the wicked ways of Ahab. Take a look at 2 Chronicles chapter 22 verses 2 to 3. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. His mother's name was Athaliah, a granddaughter of Omri. He too followed the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother encouraged him to act wickedly. Later on, when Athaliah found out that her son Ahaziah had died, she wanted the throne so much, and the only way she could get it was by murdering all her grandsons. Now, what kind of evil and wicked women must you be to have this desire? In 2 Kings chapter 11, verses 1 to 3, it says, "When Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to destroy the whole royal family. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Jehoram and sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the royal princes, who were about to be murdered. She put him and his nurse in a bedroom to hide him from Athaliah, so he was not killed. He remained hidden with his nurse at the temple of the Lord for 6 years while Athaliah ruled the land." What a crazy and wicked grandmother. The Bible later states that Joash was crowned king and later went on to restore the temple, and Queen Athaliah was eventually put to death by the sword. Now her story is a reminder that evil can rise up in the heart of a woman who is determined to go her own way, rejecting God and desiring her own power. Now, the third woman that I want to give you is Jezebel. Now, some might describe Jezebel as a strong-willed and courageous woman, but Jezebel was a wicked woman known for her worship of Baal, idolatry, and her sexual immorality. Now, she was the wife of Ahab, as I mentioned in this story of Queen Athaliah, and she persecuted God's people, especially the prophets, was a thorn in the side of the prophet Elijah, and caused Israel to worship idols. Now her wickedness led to the murder of a number of prophets. So let's take a look at 1 Kings chapter 18. We're looking at verses 3 to 4. "And Ahab had summoned Obadiah, his palace administrator. Obadiah was a devout believer in the Lord. While Jezebel was killing off the Lord's prophets, Obadiah had taken 100 prophets and hidden them in 2 caves, 50 in each, and had supplied them with food and water. Jezebel also had a way of taking matters into her own hands. Take a look at 1 Kings chapter 21 verses 1 to 7. Naboth owned a vineyard in Jezreel near King Ahab's palace. One day Ahab said, "Naboth, your vineyard is near my palace. Give it to me so I can turn it into a vegetable garden. I'll give you a better vineyard or pay whatever you want for yours." Naboth answered, "This vineyard has always been in my family. I won't let you have it." So Ahab went home angry and depressed because of what Naboth had told him. He lay on his bed just staring at the wall and refusing to eat a thing. Jezebel, his wife, came in and asked, "What's wrong? Why won't you eat?" "I asked Naboth to sell me his vineyard or to let me give him a better one," Ahab replied, "and he told me I couldn't have it." "Aren't you the king of Israel?" Jezebel asked. "Get out of bed and eat something. Don't worry, I'll get Naboth's vineyard for you." The story goes on to say that Jezebel wrote a letter to each of the leaders of the town where Naboth lived and devised a plan to get 2 liars to swear that Naboth had cursed God and the king and had Naboth stoned to death just so she could take possession of the vineyard. Now, in 1 Kings chapter 21 verse 25, it says, "There was never anyone like Ahab who sold himself to do evil in the eyes of the Lord, urged on by Jezebel his wife." So we see that Jezebel's wickedness and cruelty had great influence over Ahab. And in 2 Kings chapter 9, we read that Jezebel was eventually thrown out the window, trampled underfoot by horses, and was devoured by wild dogs. Now, the next woman that I want to present to you is Potiphar's wife, and I'm sure many of us know of this story. So Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his brothers, was bought by Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's guard, and Joseph was very highly trusted and honored in Potiphar's household. But Potiphar's wife basically tried to make advances and tried to seduce Joseph, and when he refused these advances, she basically used his cloak as evidence, and then Joseph was thrown into prison. So in Genesis 39 verses 11 to 15, it says, "One day he," meaning Joseph, "went into the house to attend to his duties, and none of the household servants was inside. She," Potiphar's wife, "caught him by his cloak and said, 'Come to bed with me,' but he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. When she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had run out of the house, she called her household servants. 'Look,' she said to them, 'this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came in here to sleep with me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house.'" So we read here how Potiphar's wife tried to seduce Joseph. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like this kind of thing is really on the rise in churches today, and it's definitely something I feel like I'm hearing more of, and I do feel like it's probably something I have seen in churches. Now, these kinds of women are really not to be trusted. You really cannot trust these kinds of women. They make their way in with some sort of pity life story so that pastors give them attention, pastors feel sorry for them, and these are the kinds of women that know how to cry and manipulate, and they are really the kind of women you really should be on the lookout for, especially if you are a pastor's wife. You really need to keep your eyes open and be on the lookout for these kinds of women. These kinds of women really can destroy marriages. Now, the last woman that I want to present to you is the harlot riding the beast in the book of Revelation. So it says in chapter 17, verses 1 to 5, "One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, 'Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute, who sits by many waters. With her the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries.' Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She held a golden cup in her hand filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. The name written on her forehead was a mystery: Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and of the abominations of the earth. I saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of God's holy people, the blood of those who bore testimony to Jesus. Many scholars believe this woman is a symbolic representation of the Roman Catholic Church or some future apostate church. This whore is wickedness personified and is not just a prostitute, but the mother of prostitutes, meaning she gives birth to other false churches. Her cup holds the blood of those she has put to death, as she was responsible for the persecution and death of believers. And she is really the kind of woman that at first glance looks appealing, but is in fact a seductress and a whore. Now, anyway, I do hope you have enjoyed this video and perhaps learned something new about some of these women in the Bible. If you have, please leave me a comment below. I love to read your comments, and you'll see me again in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.